Police Department Street Crime Unit said the rise in human trafficking cases may be linked to predators using the internet to contact children and kids spending more time online virtual learning. As children continue online learning, TPD recommends for parents to monitor their children's activity online and check out their privacy settings on both social media and online gaming. Up next on Eye on the Ball with Stephen J., it's Arizona Daily Star reporter Caitlin Schmidt. This is 1030, The Voice.
The following is a paid program, and the host is solely responsible for its content. Opinions expressed are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of KVOI or its sponsors.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Eye on the Ball. I'm Steve Rivera alongside co-host Jay Gonzales, and you're listening to 1030 The Voice. Jay, I have a couple quick things for you. Do you have your bingo card today?
Oh, man.
If you had hurricane, NBA cancels, MLB cancels, COVID cases are increasing, LSU scandal, and a Pac-12 furlough, you win today's bingo Armageddon.
God, what an awful day. You know, I was thinking about this today, and I was like, this day felt almost as bad as the day the NCAA tournament got canceled. I mean, honestly, with just all the stuff going on, it's like you just want to play the games, right?
They may not even – they'll probably be canceled tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, all the other teams that didn't play today are probably going to cancel tomorrow. I mean, you just want to play the games, but there's so much going on around it, just noise all around it. It's hard. It's really hard.
Right. If COVID doesn't get you, today's injustices will get you. The world will get you. Hurricane.
I mean,
come on. What else?
It's like what else? You know, what else can look? You know, it's been a long summer. You know, we're trying to get to the games.
It's only March,
and yet all this stuff keeps happening. And I don't know if it keeps happening because of all the inactivity that we had, or if this is just where we're going, because this is awful. You know what you know when you see what the NBA players are doing, and you go, I mean, it's that bad.
We have Caitlin Schmidt on at 6:15, and we're going to talk about the power that the kids have at the university level. There's no question that the power is in the players' hands at the NBA level.
Right, and that's it. You know, and we're in a time now, and look, this was all building towards this because of social media and all those things. But especially in professional sports, the players have the money.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones with the money and the resources. And they're flexing their muscles. And you know what? Good for them. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's got to be done. You know, it's funny that, you know, I saw that, it was 4 years ago today that Colin Kaepernick first said that he was going to protest. And 4 years later to the day, the entire NBA protests.
Right.
You know, Colin Kaepernick, lost his job and has been shredded since then, and now people are realizing, wait a minute, he had a point.
Well, you saw the Goodell story over the weekend or a couple of days ago, where
it was a while back.
They would have done things differently. Obviously, now that you know,
right now, yeah. If they knew then what they know now, sure. And so, you know, look, we're trying to be a fun show, but today's a little dark, and we've got a serious show in front of us with Caitlin talking about, you know, the stuff that she's been reporting on. But, you know, with the backdrop of what's going on in the NBA, you know, there was a horrible report that came out about the Washington Redskins today in the Washington Post.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a basketball player, Paul George, who said, you know, he's been playing like crap because he's depressed in the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and then you've got people who maybe don't understand what that means, that, you know, if you've got money like Paul George does and you're an NBA player, you're not allowed to be depressed. You know, and then just all this stuff going on, and it's awful.
As they say, we have to move on because there's a lot of things going on.
We do. You know what? And look, we're here to talk about. We're here to entertain, but we're also here to talk about issues, and we have to be serious sometimes. And there's some serious topics in front of us, and you know, we do have to deal with those. And look, if we don't, they just get worse. And what we're seeing that with the stuff that's going on, and what the NBA is protesting, and you know, and the stuff going on in Kenosha, and all the other you know, shootings and injustices, and you know, racial inequality and all that stuff. And look, somebody's got to talk about it. And you know, we for the most part don't here on our show, but there are times that we do, and I think today's one of those days.
Yeah, no question. One of the things that hit locally, but not really, was the Pac-12 furloughs. They make a ton of money, at least on the surface.
Right.
But still, there's still issues because of the COVID situation.
Right. You got sports canceled, and again, it's costing people jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've got friends that at the Pac-12. We've got close friends over there, the people that we've worked with over time. They're losing jobs or they're being furloughed. And, I was checking, all day, with, people that I know. Are you okay today? Are you getting furloughed? Some did, some didn't, And again, these are people's lives that are being impacted by this and continue to be impacted by this.
Well, you've been hit by it. I've been hit by
Right.
it. Luckily, we have this where we can discuss a lot of issues in sports and still be involved and have a little fun. Like you say, today's a serious day, but we'll have some fun.
Sure.
Talk about things going on outside of sports as well.
Yeah, but I this kind of gives me a chance to vent. And I did spend a good part of the day thinking, okay, what am I going to vent about today? I've got all kinds of choices, but I really do think that this is an opportunity for us to kind of get some things off our chest, talk to people out there, and we would love for you to call in and talk to us.
Yes.
What do you think? The number's 520-790-2040. You can give us a call, but we are going to talk to Caitlin Schmidt. She covered some stuff going, and she has been covering stuff going on
At U of A.
at the U of A, and there's been a lot of stuff, and we just want to talk about, like you said, the voice that the players have, and how we react to that, how the media reacts to that, how the athletic programs react to that. So,
Right.
I'll be
And we know
interested to see.
we know how they have in the past. Some shut down and say we're not going to give you any information. We don't have to answer your questions. But I think they answered them as well as they could.
Well, look, and we can get into this, as we discuss, a spokesperson for companies, both for Tucson Electric Power and the city of Tucson, and there's some times that you just can't say things,
Right.
And you don't, and you do the best you can. Do you spin stuff? Of course you do, but that's that's
part
your
of the job.
That's
Well,
part
it's
of the
part of the
job.
job.
I got called the spin doctor for a lot of years, but that's what I did. And you try to, when you're in that kind of a position, you try to make the best of it, but you're also careful to make sure that you're not ignoring it.
We're ignoring it and giving misinformation.
Right. Oh, you
'Cause
absolutely can't do that. 'cause you'll
Once you
always
do
get
that,
busted doing
once
that.
you're doing that, you're done.
You'll always get busted doing that.
Right. Let's. I'm not sure we have time to go early and come get her on the phone. We got 2 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
We're fine.
But
We're fine.
it's an ongoing conversation about all this stuff.
Yeah.
And you know what? These things aren't going to go away. And there aren't solutions to these things that are going to take place
Overnight. No.
in the next
No.
month, year, whatever. These are going to be long, ongoing conversations in athletics, whether it's college, whether it's the pros, down to high school, whether it's men, women, minorities. These conversations, they've got to be held, and it's somewhere down the road we've got to make progress on this stuff so that so that we can really honestly just think about the game.
Part of the problem has been its political
Sure.
analysis of
Yeah.
it.
Well, and I, it's one of those things where you go, you just don't know who you're talking to when you're talking about stuff. I've been shocked over time at people who I
You didn't know, but you did
people
know?
that I thought I knew and I didn't know, right?
Right.
And and so you just do the best you can to make your way through all that
Jay,
stuff.
if you didn't know me by now, you'll never know me. I think we should go to break here with that. We'll
I
get a
think
hold of
so.
Caitlin. Is that cool there, Mr. Thomas?
I'm good with it.
All right.
But it's
Let's-
your show.
Let's go.
All right, we'll be back with Caitlin Schmidt.
Talk 1030, The Voice.
Hi, I'm Ron Hess from the Window Depot. You know about our great prices and our biggest inventory on windows and doors? Well, now the Window Depot is the place for all your kitchen cabinets. And that's not all. Now you can get granite countertops at the Window Depot. That's right, we now stock a large variety of prefab granite countertops starting at $116 for a 9-foot section. That's less than Formica. So come into the Window Depot today, because now we have granite.
These days, most families are concerned with having the right insurance coverage. Protecting your family, home, auto, and other valuable possessions can be challenging and sometimes expensive. Crest Insurance gives you flexible options and solutions while saving you money. Insurance is not one size fits all, and at Crest, we find the coverage that's best for you and your family. Visit us online at www.crestins.com or call us toll free at 888-881-5765.
1030 The Voice is committed to supporting our local businesses. Many are struggling. We want to help them get the word out that they're still open and ready to serve you. Go to kvoi.com. Click on the Stay Tucson Strong page, where you can find a link to support our business partners. You can make your dollar count by buying from local businesses and in return, help them keep their workers employed. Find out more at kvoi.com. Together, we can stay Tucson strong with 1030 The Voice.
Tucson's source for trusted news and talk. 1030 The Voice.
Hey, welcome back to Eye on the Ball here on 1030 The Voice. I'm Steve Rivera alongside Jay Gonzales. And now on the phone we have Caitlin Schmidt of the Arizona Daily Star. Hello, Caitlin. Welcome to the Grumpy Old Men podcast.
I love it. Thank you for having me.
You do a great job at the Daily Star. We wanted to have you on and talk about what you've been writing about and what you're going to be writing about.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Well, Caitlin, so, I mean, look, we've all been reporters. We've covered stuff. We've covered uncomfortable stuff. You've done a lot of this stuff, particularly as it relates to the U of A. So, talk to us a little bit about, your approach to these kinds of stories. You get some information. Tell people how this works. When somebody comes to you and says, look, this stuff is going on, can you look into it? How do you approach that?
Usually it's a little different than this last one, but if we get an allegation, I'll sit down and have an interview with them, either phone or in person, and then first thing I ask is what kind of documentation they have, because those are so important in backing these up. Not to say that people don't tell the truth, but it really just goes a long way to solidify any doubt that readers or editors might have. And in the case of this most recent story with the track athletes, they had a really large paper trail, so that made my job easier. But usually it's some records requests and some waiting and vetting it a little bit and then running with it. But this last one was kind of a different ball game. We had 2 young women come to us via email and say that they had 3 others who wanted to talk about their experiences. I set up a Zoom call and met the 5 of them, and then we did one-on-one interviews, and in the meantime, they all sent me any kind of documents that they had. They forwarded emails that they had sent to U of A administrators and coaches reporting their experiences. They sent along documents from Title IX, court documents in some cases. They gave me case numbers, all the things that I would spend days and sometimes weeks looking for on my own. So this kind of was gift wrapped in a nice little bow. I still had to do a lot of legwork and run some stuff down, but you know how it works. We do the interviews, we try to get what we can get, and then we take it to our bosses and see if we have enough to go with. And in this case, I had a lot to go with right away.
Let me ask you, because you're a woman, do you find it easier for the women to talk to you for these stories?
I absolutely believe men can tell these stories just as well. But yes, I think there maybe is an air of comfort in speaking with another woman, especially when you're talking about things like sexual assault, or maybe in cases of other women where you've taken your complaints to male coaches or male administrators who haven't taken you seriously. So yeah, I think that helps. After I talked to these first 5, 3, they were able to get 3 more to talk to me, and I think that my gender definitely did help.
So, Steve and I have been talking a lot recently about, how, players are no longer just sitting around and, letting stuff happen. I mean, they've got a voice. We've seen what's happened in the NBA today and in the past, and the We Are United movement, all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of that. And now, you have, sort of a more specific thing where you've got some, a situation in an athletic department, and, they're not sitting around and just taking it anymore.
No, they're definitely not. And these women, I mean, we're talking about issues going back to 2015, these women tried to report multiple times. And when reporting to the appropriate channels at the university didn't work, first they threatened the university and said they were going to talk, and then they did talk. And I want to know, we're working on a follow-up story, but in the aftermath of this, a lot of athletes have come forward to support them. Mm-hmm. And I've heard from a lot of male athletes from the track and cross-country team, too, about some concerning issues. So I think that being a woman kind of helped me initially earn the trust of this particular group, but now the floodgates are a little bit open. And, amateurism is what it is. Paying athletes isn't on the table right now, but I think use your power, use your voice, talk about what's happened to you. With what's happening to the NBA today and baseball, I mean, you have a platform. Sometimes this is the way you need to use it, right?
Yeah, that's what I think we've been talking about quite a bit.
Yeah, no question. You have another follow-up? I just lost my train of thought in terms of things that she was doing.
Well, as you were saying, I mean, these stories get going, and you start to see more and more of it. We read the Washington Redskins piece in the Washington Post today, and it was a similar situation. A couple people came and talked, and then more and more, and now you have this big blow up in the Washington Redskins organization, and so as a reporter, though, I just recall, I did a story on this, and then another person who had something similar happened and called me and said, "Well, you should hear my story," and then now, but at some point, the object of this is to, in my mind, at least, is to shine a light on it, and hopefully things get fixed, things get done. I mean, that's how I always try to take that.
Absolutely, and I'm glad. We see this sometimes. This isn't the first time that I've reported about Title IX or about these types of issues, and there is a little bit of I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you call it, but I mean, sometimes when people come forward, other people are inspired to come forward, but this has really been a little bit overwhelming. I ran that article and then had tried to take a couple days off to kind of decompress, and it just didn't happen. My email, it was flooded with people that wanted to talk, either about the article as readers or parents or students themselves, or as former athletes that wanted to corroborate the stories. So I've never really seen a floodgate effect like this, but I think we touched on a nerve, and the time is ripe right now for athletes.
Well, one of the things that Jay and I had talked about, maybe right after the story broke, is this comes on the heels of the 2015 report with Carter. I mean, how does this happen?
Right? I mean, and some of the women talked to me about how the department, they told them they were under a microscope, track and field was being watched, they couldn't let this stuff happen anymore, and they had some meetings that kind of devolved. So, right, how does this happen? And my thoughts when I was listening to these women talk was, this wasn't just Craig Carter, which was an isolated incident. This was everything. This was sexual harassment by male teammates. This was bullying by female teammates. This was eating disorder, culture perpetuation by coaches. I mean, these women really went through it. It seemed like anything could happen on this team, really.
Well, and again, it's scary stuff. And like I said, what you want in the end is that that these students, get the experience that they're supposed to have. I mean, that's really, that's really in the end what you're trying to achieve, and that, that these things get fixed, however they get fixed, and you would expect that they would. I mean, again, when you had the issues that the program had in the past, you just like to think that they are. And look, they're, when you do these things, everybody's in a tough spot. It's an uncomfortable conversation. It's an uncomfortable conversation right now. But in the end, this stuff's got to get fixed, and it's not just at the U of A; it's everywhere. And we've even seen that. When you talk about the stuff that went on at Baylor and the stuff that's gone on at Michigan State, and then you got pro teams like the Washington Redskins and those things happening. It's like, can we just fix all this?
Yeah, like let's just start from scratch and rewrite some of the rules and regulations and expectations and do that. And I mean, it's, I've never tried to claim in any of my reporting that this is unique to the U of A. I did a whole series last year about other schools that had Title IX issues. But like you said, they were under a microscope for what happened with Coach Carter. How did all of this go on right after? So let's turn it around. Let's make it a better place for athletes so that they can complete their education and thrive in their sport and feel protected if something bad happens.
It's funny. You become this reporter that does these type of stories. I'm thinking from there, right? Oh no, here comes Caitlin. Here comes Caitlin. What does she want now? Do you get that feeling?
I do, and they tell me that. They definitely, people definitely get nervous when I check in on them. And this spring, actually, after high school sports got shut down, I took 35 days and highlighted spring sport athletes, and it was so wonderful. I was writing these glorious stories about young athletes who just love to play or compete or whatever, and so it was a little different going back to this. But people are definitely afraid of me sometimes, and I hope to dispel that because I write nice stories too.
Well, I just recall having a beat. I covered both the police beat and the courthouse, and even though I knew all those people and they knew me, and a lot of them knew me personally because I had a lot of lawyer friends and a lot of cop friends. My two brothers were cops. I would walk in the room and they'd everybody would just stop talking, and it was like, guys, I just came to get a drink of water,
Yeah, I'm not working right now. Yeah.
But you kind of I'm trying to think back. Again, you've been doing this for a while. Is this something you wanted to do? Is this something you kind of fell into? To cover sports from the the more serious side of it, and I mean, it's got to be stressful, right?
It is stressful. It's kind of the perfect storm for me. I went back to journalism school because I was bartending at the time and had been a nurse, and the only thing I liked about bartending was watching sports all the time and talking about it with my customers. So I went to journalism school thinking I would do sideline reporting or sports reporting or whatever, and kind of fell in love with the news and investigative reporting. So when I realized that those two could intersect a few years ago, it was kind of like a dream come true. And, I also did police and court reporting, and I really loved it and thrived in it, I thought. But it wasn't until I got moved to sports full time last November that I realized how much that police and court reporting was weighing on my soul. I didn't know it at all until I was out of it and writing feature stories about, young wrestlers, female wrestlers at Sunnyside High School and that sort of thing, that I went, oh my gosh, I feel so much better and I don't know why. So, yeah, but this beat allows me to step in and out of that investigative and hard news and kind of revel in the nice things. I talked to some athletes today who wanted to share their bad experiences, but I also talked to FC Tucson coach John Gonzales, and I talked to Sunnyside football coach Glenn Posey about their athletes, and so it was a weird day, but it's enough to balance it out. I got the good and the bad, right?
We have about a minute left. I'm curious. I'm not as big a sports fan as I used to be. I've said that numerous times on this show because I know how the sausage is made, and it's not fun at times. Are you kind of like that now because you know more what's going on in the background?
Yeah, a little bit, but I still love watching them, and yes. It's harder to enjoy on a pure level, but nothing takes away from the primal joy of just watching live sports and that competition. But yeah, it's harder.
Live sports? What is that? We're losing that day by day.
We've lost track of that. So
I know.
Hey, Caitlin, we got to have you back more often when you do these big stories on what's going on.
Yes, absolutely. You know how to get in touch with me.
All right, Caitlin. It's good to talk to you. We appreciate it.
Great job too.
Keep up the work. We appreciate it. It's important.
It's important. Yes.
Thanks, Steve and Jay.
Let's take a quick break here on 1030 The Voice.
See top and bottom of every hour. 1030 The Voice, Tucson's trusted local news and talk.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Good news on the economy and rising expectations for continued easy money policies from the Fed sent stocks higher. The Dow Jones Industrial Average climbed 84, the S&P added 35, the Nasdaq surged 199. Moderna gained 6.4%. New data from an early trial of its coronavirus vaccine show that it was as effective in older people as in younger age groups. The vaccine is now in a large-scale final trial with results possible by late fall. For most employees at BNY Mellon, it's see you next year. They've been told to continue working remotely for the remainder of 2020, postponing plans to begin returning them to the office in September. U.S. factories were busier than expected in July. The government says orders for durable goods rose more than 11%, surprising analysts who expected less than 5%. A continued surge in demand for new autos fueled the gain. Larry Kofsky, Bloomberg Radio.
CBS News special report underway, night 3 of the Republican National Convention. The highlight to come from Baltimore's Fort McHenry from the Vice President, Mike Pence. And looking ahead, UVA political science professor Larry Sabato.
I can't recall a time when he ever disagreed, even slightly, with anything that President Trump has done or said. Usually, he's completely in line with the president.
Along those lines, we've already heard about the president from his press secretary.
I've heard him say the hardest part of his job is writing to loved ones of fallen soldiers.
And more Trump tributes from the departing senior advisor, Kellyanne Conway.
He picks the toughest fights and tackles the most complex problems. He has stood by me, and he will stand up for you.
CBS News special report. I'm Tom Foti.
There's a place in our house.
For 70 years, Benjamin Supply has been keeping Tucson flowing. Hygiene is our business. We help you achieve extreme clean. Minimize germ spreading with a hands-free sensor faucet. Forget the paper panic with a washlet seat. And speaking of waterworks, a big thanks to plumbers for their essential efforts during this health crisis. Shop our downtown showroom by appointment. Call us at 777-7000 or see all the products online at benjaminsupply.com.
Thanks to Benjamin Plumbing Supply.
Camille Rivas Rutherford with Coldwell Banker Realty has been one of the top producing real estate agents in Tucson, Oro Valley, Marana, and Vail for more than 20 years. Let her help you find your dream home in southern Arizona. Her passion and enthusiasm for real estate has helped her become one of the most respected and trusted realtors in the area. And she was recently named a recipient of Coldwell Banker's 2019 International President's Circle Award. Camille's approach to sales and marketing and selling or buying a home is second to none. Give her a call at 520-250-5192.
Tucson's Hispanic Voices, bringing diversity into the conversation. We'll talk local politics while fostering a culture of respect and understanding. Plus, we'll share stories of music, food, art, and culture. Tune in Saturday mornings from 10 to 11 on KVOI 1030 The Voice. Tucson's Hispanic Voices, sponsored by MPG Automotive, HT Metals, the Law Office of Natalie H. Haywood, and music by Gabriel F. Romo.
Trusted local news and talk all day, every day. 1030 The Voice.
Hey, welcome back to Eye on the Ball here on 1030 The Voice. I'm Steve Rivera. I'm with Jay Gonzales, co-host. For your next disco song.
Zapp and Roger, man. I love those guys. They're my friends.
I'll take it. Hey, good to have Caitlin. You know why? I was one of those guys that dreaded those stories.
Oh, you know, it's funny because when I was working news, you wanted those stories because you wanted a story that the entire town will be talking about. But when you moved over to sports, you wanted sports to be fun,
right?
You know, and you didn't want to have to talk about this stuff. And I'll give you an experience on that one. And when we were both covering football, I think it was a week after the Oklahoma game.
Okay.
And I can't remember who Arizona played.
Over there or over here?
Here.
Okay,
the
6-3 win.
Yeah, but it was a week later or 2 weeks later. I think it was a week or two later.
Skate park.
Melvin Smith.
Yes, I remember that.
And he fired a gun at Skate Country. Got arrested.
Yes.
And I get a call Sunday morning, and I'm
because it happened Saturday night.
Right,
after
it happened
the game.
Saturday night after the game, and I didn't drink after the games, but I still had a hangover because of the intensity of covering the game. We were on deadline. You didn't have to deal with
No,
deadlines.
but the thing is, people don't understand that because you're getting home at 2 a.m.
Yeah,
from deadline.
so you're writing your story. You're on deadline, And so you'd go home and you're wiped out. And so I get a call early Saturday morning. Melvin Smith got arrested. We need you to go since you've covered cops before, you've covered courts before. We want you to cover this. Normally they would have gotten the courts, the cop or the court reporter to do it, but they said, well, since you've done it and you're the sports writer, you get to do this. And so I had to go to his arraignment, and understand arraignments were done. There's a courtroom at City Court, and the person who'd been arrested would show up on video on television. So here comes Melvin Smith walking in, and they're going to set bail for him. And I walk in the door, and Mark Lunsford is sitting there. And so the door creaks open. It's Sunday, right. So nobody's supposed to be there. Nobody goes to these things, but Mark has got to go handle this for Melvin Smith, obviously because his parents or whatever aren't.
And
there.
he was a wide receivers.
He was
coach
a wide receivers coach. So you're his coach. You go. And I walked in the door, and the door creaked open, and Mark looked over his shoulder, and he saw me.
He's thinking, oh, crap.
And he just put his head down, and he was like, oh, no. They know, but how are we not going to know?
Sure, of course.
So, I wrote a story.
Yeah.
I wrote a story, talked about the incident, got the information from the police. There was no Dick Tomey should not have guys like this on his team stuff. Right. It was just a straightforward police story.
He was kicked off after that, I think.
He got suspended, but I don't think he got kicked off the team because, as I recall, what ended up happening is they kept him on the team so he could they wanted him to get his stuff together.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't just discard him.
I don't think he ever played again.
But I don't think he ever played again.
Yeah,
but he didn't get kicked off the team right away. But it was just a basic,
simple story.
Police beat story. Here's his, here's what happened, yada, yada, yada. So then I remember seeing Dick the first time I saw Dick at the practice. Now, we wouldn't go to Monday practice because Monday practice was just conditioning and stuff. So the first time I saw Dick at practice on Tuesday, and we're walking off the field, and he goes, I really thought you were going to roast me. And I'm like, roast you for what? Well, when these things happen, they always want to blame the coach for it and stuff like that, and we're the ones that get. And I said, Dick, it was an incident, it was a situation, and I wrote what happened. I mean, that's all I'm supposed to do. It's not me to make a judgment as to whether or not you made a recruiting mistake by going to get this guy. That's not up to me.
But while you're saying this,
what do you
have a comment on this?
And that it was an incident. It kind of went away. He got suspended, and I can't even remember all the things that happened.
Right. I think they tried to bring him back for the because that was the Hawaii game back at the end of the Aloha Bowl.
Oh,
and they wanted him to play, but they didn't eventually bring him back.
But again, it was really uncomfortable. I really didn't want to be doing that because I felt like I was done with that. I was a sports writer. I don't want to do that stuff anymore. But you do have to do those things.
Yeah, people think it's all fun and games or free food.
It's not
free food, late deadlines.
Especially now, you're doing suspensions. You're doing. I remember having to do a couple of players got suspended for steroids.
It was that same era.
Right, that same time. And I had to do that one.
Yeah.
And, that kind of stuff. And I guess it comes with the territory, but,
sure.
Those things are uncomfortable stories to do.
Well, in fact, I wanted to talk about that because we used to have Caitlin on our mind. LSU was going through some issues, basketball and basketball investigations.
Right.
Arizona has yet to deal with any of that in terms of big-time results or news. Eventually, it's going to come down the pipe.
It's going to come because there are going to be some NCAA allegations against the program because no matter what you say about whether or not Sean Miller knew or involved with any of it, Book Richardson broke the rules, and that's been proven in court.
Right.
So there's going to be something coming down. But, it was an interesting conversation that I had with a couple of people back when that was first coming out. And remember, there was a long period of time that Sean Miller had no public comment.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Well, let me tell you, it's 3 years ago next month already.
Yeah. Wow. I can't believe it's been going on that long. But people are saying, why doesn't Sean Miller come out and say something? And I'm like, if I'm his PR guy.
What's he going to say?
I'm saying, Sean, you're not saying anything. What are you going to say? You're going to say, there's nothing for you to say. The U of A put out its statements, and that's how you do it. And so being on the other side of that, I kept having this debate with people saying that Miller needed to come out and say something. I'm like, no, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
There's too much at stake here. You're going to wait till you do your homework on it. They did their homework. They launched their own investigation. They were satisfied with what they came up with, and then he came out and he made that famous had that famous news conference
Right.
where he said, I didn't do any of this.
Right. No. If you have a brother who's an attorney, the first thing he's going to say is, don't say anything.
I'll tell you one of the funniest. It was a funny incident. We were at a game at the L.A. Coliseum. I'm with my brothers, and there's a bunch of cops, and I'm basically with a bunch of cops and lawyers. And it was a USC game, 1979, and some guy, a frisbee came flying in our area. So some guy who we don't know picked it up and flung it. Well, here comes a cop to throw him out of the stadium, to take him out of the stadium for throwing the frisbee. And as he's going down the stairs, my brother, the lawyer, yells at him, "Deny. Always deny." Because the cop came up and asked him, "Did you throw that?" And he said, "Yeah." And so they threw him out of the stadium, and my brother's yelling at him to deny. Just don't say anything.
Yeah.
And there are times when the best thing to do is to not say anything. The U of A kind of did that in this track and field piece. They released a statement.
Right.
They didn't let all the people talk to the media. That's exactly what I would have done if I'm their PR person. But ultimately, at some point, they're going to have to address it, and you hope they do.
Sure, and that's why you heard that she's going to have a follow-up.
Right, there's going to be follow-up.
There's going to be follow-up.
You'd like to think that the U of A will investigate all this. They'll get their handle on it, and then they'll say what they've got to say.
The one thing that I wanted to ask her, because we didn't have enough time, was what do you think's going to come of it? Because something's going to eventually come of it.
Well, but that's where you get into an area of starting to speculate,
people's jobs.
Yeah. What's going on with the athletes. Because look, let's not forget that in the story, there were a couple of athletes who came out in strong support of the program, defended and said, I've not seen any of this. It's been the greatest experience of my life and all that kind of stuff. And Caitlin did a good job of presenting that side of it as well. And that's what a good reporter does.
Sure. Yeah, you're not going to be one-sided or the other side.
But again, being on both sides of it, it's like, there are times to talk and there's times not to talk.
Yeah, right. Tom, you're chomping at the bit?
Well, I had a thought kind of going back to the basketball thing with Book Richardson, and maybe it applies here, maybe it doesn't. But yeah, sometimes the NCAA will accept it if you self-police yourself. Because this year has gone completely sideways, and because we're so far out to pasture with everything and whether or not we're even going to play, could the school self-sanction either basketball or whatever track this year and have that as an acceptable outcome by the NCAA? And would this be the optimal year to do something like that just because of how odd everything is right now?
I think to answer your question, just simply yes. But will it be enough? No.
I think it won't be, because this was so high profile.
Very much so.
The schools involved are such high profile schools. I think Arizona is going to get hit pretty hard when this eventually comes down. Well,
really,
I do believe that.
Wow, I'm surprised because you're the optimist.
Well, but again, you can't deny the fact
I totally agree with you.
That serious rules were broken.
Totally agree.
The rule of all rules, money.
Mm-hmm.
Money exchanging hands. That's the thing you can't do. Now, there's still debate as to whether or not any of that money actually went to players and stuff like that. But there was a money angle to this that is really that sort of really stokes the NCAA on stuff like
We
this.
haven't really talked about it since you've been on the show, but there's more to it too. Mark Phelps is now gone. He got into trouble with situations. Just a lot of things and a lot of little things in addition to those things.
Yeah, and I mean, the U of A can say, look, we fired him the minute we determined that what was going on. We've done what we needed to do.
Sure.
But I just think in this particular case, it's not gonna.
I don't disagree.
I don't think. I think the NCAA is still going to come down hard. Maybe not as hard as they're going to come down on LSU, which, there's a report today that the NCAA believes that their head coach, Will Wade, actually offered money to 11 different payments.
Right.
The head coach himself. How much they know on that, something like that, you can see that they're going to get hit even harder. But they don't have anything like that on Sean Miller.
That we know of. Because you saw it, because they did cite the HBO show, the scheme or whatever the scheme was. And they talked about that, quoted that a lot. Sean was in that.
He was in that.
Frequently. So I think this is just a 3-year saga of...
This is, and you hate for these things to drag on, because ultimately whenever the penalties come down, they're going to come down on the kids that weren't even there.
Right.
And that's the part I hate about all of that.
This all started when my hair on my chin was a lot darker. I'm a lot older.
I wasn't sure where you were going with that, but okay.
I was a lot older, and Social Security is coming up pretty quickly. We'll see what happens. Hey, let's take our final break here on 1030 The Voice.
Listen to the live stream and find podcasts of your favorite shows at kvoi.com.
Where you bank really does matter. Hughes Federal Credit Union is proud to be recognized by Forbes as one of Arizona's best credit unions 3 years in a row. This national recognition highlights our commitment to high-quality products and services, our customer service, digital services, and financial advice. At Hughes Federal Credit Union, we offer low rates on loans, lower fees, and many free services. Make the switch. Join Hughes today. Visit hughesfcu.org/best. Certain restrictions apply. Insured by NCUA.
There's a place in our house.
For 70 years, Benjamin Supply has been keeping Tucson flowing. Hygiene is our business. We help you achieve extreme clean. Minimize germ spreading with a hands-free sensor faucet. Forget the paper panic with a washlet seat. And speaking of waterworks, a big thanks to plumbers for their essential efforts during this health crisis. Shop our downtown showroom by appointment. Call us at 777-7000 or see all the products online at benjaminsupply.com.
Thanks to Benjamin Plumbing Supply.
This is Bill Buckmaster. Thursday during the noon hour, a newsmaker interview with Sharon Bronson, Vice Chair of the Pima County Board of Supervisors. Plus, we'll talk with the new director of the Arizona Cancer Center at the University of Arizona. On 1030, Tucson's voice for trusted news talk, worldwide live listening on my website, 24/7, buckmastershow.com.
Trusted local news and talk. 1030 The Voice.
Hey, welcome back to Eye on the Ball here on 1030 The Voice. I'm Steve Rivera alongside co-host Jay Gonzales. Welcome to the CDC COVID report.
Here we go. I know everybody out there was thinking, when are they going to get to the COVID stuff, right?
We held off just long enough.
Well, and that tells you what kind of a day it's been today with all the stuff that's been going on today. Right. You know, again, and you know, the NBA they're not playing their games today. I know there's a lot of gamblers out there who are really unhappy about that. They're scratching their arms because they where the needle marks are. But again, very serious issues going on out there. And there's a meeting apparently going on as we speak of the NBA players with NBA management, ownership, I guess, the commissioner and whatnot. And we'll probably hear some stuff coming out of that. But for our COVID report today, again, I tweeted earlier, I retweeted a thing about LSU. Their offensive line, all but 4 of their offensive lines have got COVID. Again, we talked about that. It was Oklahoma yesterday or the day before.
Yeah, 228
had all of its players, pretty much all of its players in one position group. What's happening is they're trying to keep these guys in groups and working together, but then one person gets it and they all get it.
Right.
And so now, again, what's the threshold for canceling a game?
Didn't someone push back a game because of all this stuff?
North Carolina State, in which another piece of news there, they closed all their dorms today.
So they chased the kids out?
They've chased the kids out of the dorms. They've been in school for a week, and all the dorms are closed. And they're, it sounds like they're fully online. So, again, what's going to happen? But North Carolina State postponed its opening game by 2 weeks.
Because they're not going to have a season. It's just not likely.
How are they going to? How are they going to? It's an ongoing thing. Again, so, look, people are already trying to figure out ways. There's a word now, it's getting stronger, that Major League Baseball is going to have all its games in 1 or 2 places. Maybe it's playoffs.
Yeah.
In 2 places, they're talking, like I think they said L.A. and Texas, And then you've got the Big Ten trying to figure out a way to play football in the after the first of the year. And one of the big issues has been weather. Well, what they're saying is in order to be able to play games as early as January, because look, with January in Wisconsin, in Minnesota, and all those places, it's impossible that they may just have all their games in the available domes, which are, there's one in, Minneapolis has a dome, Indianapolis has a dome, Detroit has a dome, even St. Louis. So, thinking, look, in order to be able to play in January, we'll have all our games in domes.
Yeah.
And if there's not going to be fans anyways, so just play them.
Sure.
And get that all-important TV money. I was thinking about that. Okay, let's say if you did the Pac-12, we probably don't need the domes, but if you want to semi-bubble the games, you've got the new stadium in Los Angeles, you've got the new stadium in Las Vegas that the Raiders are playing in, you've got Cardinal Stadium. That's 3 dome stadiums right there. If that's a piece of it. Now, if they're doing the dome thing just because of the weather, maybe we don't need that. You can play them,
right.
You can play them wherever, but maybe you do play them in 3 or 4 places, and that's where all the games are, so that you don't have, maybe you minimize the travel. If they're in online classes anyways, all those kinds of things, they're not bubbles, but you're controlling things a little bit more.
So you're more hopeful or more realistic that spring football will happen?
Look, I think if the Big Ten, again, we know that the Pac-12 follows the Big Ten. I think if the Big Ten puts together a schedule that says we're going to start playing games in January, we're going to do it this way, that the Pac-12 will find a way to do something similar.
Without the big 3, because they've already been playing, if they play the rest of the season. So let's assume for a second that they go 3 weeks. 3 weeks. They'll come back in the spring and play. Don't you think?
I don't know. Can you?
I don't know. I would think that they would.
Are you going to stop the season and then start training again in December so you can play again in January?
Remember, this is 2020.
Right, and some of those places, again, they're some of those places are also subject to weather. You've got
sure.
It gets freezing cold in Nebraska.
Yeah.
It gets Nebraska's Big Ten school. But let's say West Virginia, who's in the Big 12.
Iowa.
Iowa, who's in Iowa's in the Big 10.
Iowa State. That's what I meant.
Right. And it's it gets cold in some of those places in the South, even though they're in the South. So, all those issues have to be dealt with. So, from where I sit right now, I think if those 3 leagues get started and they get several games into their season, they're either not going to stop, or if they stop, that's it. They're over. They're
what
done.
Do you mean by several?
3-4 games.
They won't stop. They've already got, I guess, because they'll play 10 games.
Well, they're going to be playing JV football, like Nick Saban said, when the entire offensive line goes down.
Goes
down.
Right,
and they're going to have to, again, somebody made the point, in college, you can't just go sign a bunch of guys, from a practice squad and bring them in and play them.
Right.
What are you going to do? Go run around on campus and say, hey, if you played high school football, want to come play offensive line for Alabama this weekend?
Well, that's the funny thing about it. People who didn't have opportunities at all will have opportunities now.
Sure.
But the quality of football will not be the same.
Sure. You know what? I really don't care.
I was just going to say that. Guys like you who love football at any form.
I really don't care.
Really don't care.
In the same way that I don't care if they get rid of the one and done and all the great high school players go straight to the NBA.
Yeah.
I still think it's going to look like college basketball.
No question, because you guys follow the name on the jersey rather than the last name on the back of the jersey.
Right.
That's what I do. You're cheering for U of A.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, that's exactly what I think. In fact, I think programs like Arizona will probably do better because they'll still be able to get the best of what's
left
coming out, and they're going to stick around for a while.
Sure, no question.
Yeah.
Whether it's Sean coaching or whoever's coaching.
I'm all for that.
Right.
I'm all for that.
We'll see what happens. I know we were talking speculation, but we're getting closer. Like, 2 more weeks for NFL?
The NFL starts 2 weeks from tomorrow. What's today? Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Yeah, tomorrow's trash day. All right.
Feels like March.
I got to get the garbage cans out tonight. 2 weeks from tomorrow, the NFL starts, and 2 weeks tomorrow is really when the three power conferences get started as well.
Tom?
Okay, so I'm going to try not to unload here, but listen. So think about this. Number one, if you have a team, and I'm going to go SEC because I really feel like the SEC is going to be the most bullheaded and try to push through. But let's use Alabama as our example. What happens if Alabama has half the team wiped out? There's going to be so much griping from the fan base and from everybody based around that. They're going to try to invalidate the season and they're still going to try to push through and play these games. But so what happens? Do you cancel some games for some teams and kind of not make them up like baseball's going to do? Or do you just stop the season because of one team having an outbreak? I mean, how's that even going to work? I feel like someone will try to take it down.
Well, actually, that's what they've said they were going to do, because when the Pac-12 put out its schedule, its 10-game schedule, they also put out some what's the right word, accommodations or whatever, where if you only play 7 or 8 games. So they were expecting that some games would get canceled and not rescheduled because of this. And so they put out some rules that basically said you got to play X. I think they said you've got to play X 7 games to be able to be crowned the champion of the league, or you had to play a percentage of games based on the average of games that everybody else plays, or something like that. So I think there's an expectation that they may cancel games altogether and not reschedule them because of COVID, but they built some of those off weeks to reschedule some of those games.
So both of you guys are big sports fans, college football fans. Are you going to watch it even though you have no skin in the game?
Yes.
Alabama.
Sure.
Clemson.
Yeah, I'm going to watch. I may pay more attention to the NFL this year because of that. I'll have more interest in the NFL, I think, because of that. But yeah, I'm going to still watch college football. I may not watch, Central Florida against South Alabama, but I'm going to watch Alabama, LSU. I'm going to watch, Oklahoma and Texas or whatever. On Saturday if college football is on, I'm watching it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you were watching Korean baseball.
I watch Korean baseball, I once knew a friend who gambled on women's Olympic hockey. I mean, I know people.
Oh, you're asking for a friend?
It wasn't me. I swear to God, it wasn't me, but I know people.
Yeah, I know you know people.
I'll probably be paying more attention to the NFL than college this year, to be honest with you. But I'm not concerned with arguments over the validity of the championship or anything like that. I really don't care that much if people are because people will say it doesn't count. Other people will say it does count. Other people will put an asterisk next to it. It doesn't matter to me. Like Jay said, if the game's on and it's a good game on Saturday, I'll watch it.
Yeah, look, I'm that guy. All these people complain about 41 bowl games and all these bowl games that are on during the week.
Right.
If there's a bowl game on, I'm watching it because it's better than anything else that's on at that time for me. I don't care who's playing a bowl game. I'll watch I may not set my schedule to a particular, minor bowl game. But if I'm sitting at home, I've had dinner, I've got the TV on, I'm flipping channels, and there's a bowl game on, I'm watching the game. And so it'll be the same thing for me on a Saturday. Maybe I'll golf more in the fall than I normally would, since I'm not going to be tailgating, right?
Right. So if you're golfing at 110,
those kinds of things.
If you get it at 110, you'll be golfing at 82.
I've got an 11 o'clock tee time tomorrow. Del Uric.
Some of those bowl games are pretty bad, though, Jay.
They are, but
some of them are bad.
They're fun to watch because things happen in those games. Because for the most part, they're good games because they're evenly matched.
True.
They really are. Even if it's, directional schools or, a MAC school against somebody else. One of the great games that ever was the Bahamas Bowl a few years ago, where a team came back from they were down 40 or 38 or something like that, tie the game on one of those crazy hook and ladder plays, tie the game on the last play of regulation, get it into overtime, go for 2 in overtime and lose the game after coming back from that far. That was one of the greatest games I ever saw.
You lost me at Bahamas Bowl.
I couldn't even tell you who it was.
It was 12 people watching that game.
Okay, I do. One of the teams was Western Kentucky. That's all I can remember. But it was a Saturday game, at 11 o'clock in the morning, and I watched it.
Yikes. I don't know.
Again, I just love college football, and I'll watch it. I will definitely watch it.
Well, it's going to start here pretty soon.
I'm thinking about let's have a season of college football in the fall, and then have another season of it after the first of the year. I'm all over it.
It'd be like having a baby. You got it all for 9 months.
I'm all over it's like having 2 babies.
Oh, I wanted to tell you about that tomorrow. Remind me about the twin stuff. I found out someone I know knows about that stuff.
All right, good. All right.
Good show today.
You know what? It was nice to get it off on a kind of a lighter note. We had a pretty serious show today. We appreciate anybody who was listening and would love your feedback. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook. Let us know what you think.
Grumpy Old Men. Be back tomorrow.
We'll be here tomorrow.
KVOI Cortero, AM 1030, the voice of Tucson. Trusted local news and talk. A Bustos media station.